Hi, everyone, and welcome to the I Am Landscape Growth Podcast, where entrepreneurs help entrepreneurs grow faster, better, and stronger in the green industry. From leadership to sales to recruiting and operational excellence, we cover the topics holding entrepreneurs back and share how to get past those bottlenecks with the best in the industry. I'm your host, Rob Murray, co founder and CEO of Intrigue, a digital marketing company focused on helping landscape companies grow. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hey, hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the I Am Landscape Growth Podcast. I have the honor and privilege of introducing and welcoming Ivan Katz from Great Lakes Landscape Design to the show today. Ivan, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be part of it.
Now, normally we do this little kind of orientation of like help people understand, where you're at right now and how you got there. But before we do that, we were just in the middle of a conversation talking about acupuncture of all things. So I was like, "Happy Friday! Like, what's going on?" And Ivan, I mean, I just your energy's epic. So I didn't want to like lose this thing because so many people, self care, whatever, whatever you want to talk about, taking the time for yourself to, get yourself right. And a lot of people either know they need to, don't necessarily do it. But you're talking about acupuncture. So just what were you saying just there? Because I was talking about how I've used it before, but for rehab, like, if I injured something or something like that to try to get me back. But you're taking a bit of a different slant on the whole thing, and it seems to have been working for you pretty good.
Right. Well, much like a lot of things that I do, it started off as one thing. I work hard, I play hard. So, I have this uh, trigger point massage guy that I go to, and he wasn't able to fit me in the following week. So he suggested acupuncture maybe it would help as well. Went in thinking it was going to help me physiologically, but went in there and he like took my pulse and he's like, "Ooh, you're stressed out." So it's like I can help you with that. So um, I, I've been going religiously every other week since. For a little bit, I was going weekly, but I had to back it down just because of time constraints. But basically, what it does is it puts me in this like REM state where I'm twitching and sleeping, and I'm there for an hour.
Yeah.
I've never really looked to see how many needles because some of them when they go in, it's just like whoa, like it takes me to a like I respond very well to the therapy, and this guy gets me. So I go in there, I could be at like an 8 and 9. It's the end of the day, the end of a week. All the stuff that's going on. We moved buildings, renovating my house, just running a business and all these other things. And it's like I come out of there and for 3 days, my wife's like, you need to go every day.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least every 3 days.
I like being around you more. So it was an unintended benefit, but along the lines of, like what we talked about, self-care and self-awareness, and it's been like an unexpected great.
Epic
Yeah.
outcome. All
Yeah.
right, cool. So I mean, I love that too because uh, a lot of people listening might think to themselves, I'm too busy for that right now. Maybe I'll do that next year or something like that. And one of my favorite quotes is, if you want time, you have to take time. And time's easy when it's important, right? So it's really about priorities. Anyway, we're gonna get to that too. And I know part of the conversation with you, there's gonna be part of it. So getting back to the original part of this conversation and introducing yourself, just leading the company and kind of how you ended up getting there, and then we're going to kind of go into the catalysmic change that you undertook, many years ago. But just kind of cursory Cole's notes of where you're at right now and kind of what led you there.
So, I started this company in 1989. So this is our 34th year in business. And it was really, I, I graduated college and I didn't have a job. So I'm like, I'm going to give this a try. I guess in hindsight, I was always doing something entrepreneurial, whether it
Well, the
was,
fact that you graduated is still pretty impressive.
yeah, that was no joke.
Yeah.
Um, that is an accomplishment. I don't know how I did it, but I mean, it's like anything else. I grind. I grinded my way through college because I was more interested in working, and I classic entrepreneur squirrel, can't focus. So I got through it, started this business, and it's been a journey. So 34 years later, I mean, we started out really just doing like annual flowers. That was how I got into this whole world, working for this woman that I met while I was a bartender, putting
Yeah.
myself
Cool.
through college. So, she's like, you want to make some extra money. And that turned into planting flowers and doing it by piece. And then, I ultimately ran her business for her. And so when I graduated from school, I traveled Europe for almost 3 months, came back and had no job prospects or opportunities and started the business. Fast forward to today, now um, we're approaching 60 staff members. We just moved into a new facility. We've got a leadership team that's been together now for 5 years. We adopted EOS as an operating system in 2016-17 season. And we identify as a design build maintenance firm. And then in the winter for high-end residential. And then now we've kind of tapped into this design build market for commercial kind of properties where we're acting as the GC as well. It's been a real interesting ride this year.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then in the wintertime, we do snow removal. And that's a segment of our business that we're starting to grow and pay a lot of attention to. It's really an entity in and of itself if you want to do it right. That even though I've been doing it, I haven't been doing it correctly. And now it's really a 12-month commitment that gets executed over 5.
Okay, that's very cool.
And so we're taking a different approach. And so we focus more on high needs, industrial, 24/7. We're looking into that stuff. And that's manufacturing and stuff like that, with where the market that we're trying to move into. And
I
then
love
some
it.
of the smaller stuff. So a lot of the market, everybody wants to go after high square footages of asphalt, and they don't want to deal with the small stuff. And we have a minimum that we execute. So I can do a lot of small stuff close to where we hub out of.
Yeah.
And it seems to work as well because we can charge a higher margin. So that's been a good strategy. And as we continue to build it out.
Okay, well, we're on the topic quickly. This 12-month approach to snow. Can you just give us quick Cole's notes on that?
So like truth be told, and to be transparent, I hate snow. Like, and
I
what
lived
I
in Costa
found
Rica for
out,
2 years. I'm with you, buddy.
right. So what I found out is it's not so much that I hate snow. It's like I just don't want to I don't want to have to wake up in the middle of the night. I don't want to have to be responsible for it. I don't even like to sell it. So what I've done is I've changed my role. So I do the business development. I hand off the leads to my salespeople. I have people running the division that are very passionate about it and capable. And so that was really the thing. But you're giving away your profits in the first part of the year, and we're struggling to break even. So,
Right.
Now if we can get it to the size that we're projecting, we can start off the year, either break even or be profitable from the beginning.
Awesome.
So like even in some of the networking stuff where what I've learned is they're like, you can't just turn it on and off. So we're taking a longer holistic approach to it, meaning like, okay, what are we doing to prepare? When is our equipment getting maintained? It comes off the truck, all the parts are identified, they're all ordered, and then everything gets repaired. And then everything starts to get installed. So, and we've already sent out our renewal of clients. We've already started, where are we going after? And like, we're trying to hustle work now so that, come September, October, really, we're just training. You got to train new drivers. We did start full-time employment offerings year round for people so that we could maintain employees and then have a snow staff, because that can be a struggle.
Yeah,
We're
big time.
very fortunate. We do a lot of things that I think entice people to come and for our internal staff to bring people. For example, the $1 an hour. So if you bring Robert, you bring a friend, you get an extra $1 an hour for every hour he works.
Oh,
So
snap.
we've had some really good success. We had one guy bring 4 people in.
Yeah.
So last year we had more shovelers than we needed. But unlike, like everyone else.
But like no one has that problem. No one has more shovelers than they need.
No, but we've done a very good job, you know, and we pay well because that's the hardest job of all.
I love it.
You know, sitting in a plow truck and
Sure.
driving around drinking coffee,
Heated.
heated is a lot different than, you know, and that's how our crews run. So our plows plow and our walk crews clear the walks. You
Right.
know, and that could be ranging from a site that has a mile of walkways and they're doing it with a gator and a V-blade and a spreader on the back of it. So we've gotten into different equipment, snow raiders and stuff like that to try and, you know, make it easier on the guys.
Yeah.
Uh, to the point of we're buying Isuzu cab over trucks for our maintenance crews, and now they'll be able to use them in the winter because they
There you
can
go.
roll that equipment right up the ramp, keep pallets of salt inside. You know, in the new facility, we've got enough room where we'll be able to store all our trucks indoors, so people will come in, punch in, and leave. They're,
Yeah.
you
No
know,
clearing snow off the trucks.
no
Not warming
clearance,
them up.
no, yeah, no fueling. Everything will be done because we have daytime workers that, you know, they want hours all winter. So now we've guaranteed employment for people all season.
Okay, so
Yeah.
coming, let's where does this whole thing start, right? You're 300 pounds and you're going through an embezzlement. You know, let's throw a right hook at what's going on with the conversation. Walk
So I
us through.
told you, if I were going to write a book, I already got the title, and it's what could go wrong, you know, and it sprang from a conversation I have with this group of people that I run with and train with. And the guy, one of our friends, is going on this trip that he planned, and in the middle of, like, I think it was Egypt or something, and he looked at me and my friend, and he's like, "What could go wrong?" And we both just broke out in hard laughter. And you know, the guy goes on the trip and has a flat tire in the middle of nowhere, and he's got, you know, like he what is he doing? He's with his family, right? So it struck me as like, I mean, everybody has a story in life, but it stuck with me. Like, that's our internal joke. Like, what could go
What could
wrong?
go wrong?
You know, what could go wrong? You know, that's my life to some extent. So I went through the embezzlement. It was a difficult time in my life. The very, very valuable lesson that I learned is it's not that you can't trust people. There are certain things you don't need to trust them with. And then there's trust and verify, you know, having proper controls in place. And it's actually, the benefit is that I learned a lot of good cash management skills. I do a weekly cash flow program, but I project it out for 52 weeks of the year. So I could show you right now, and then we update it on a monthly basis or weekly basis off our cash, you know, our AR and
The
A.
forecast, yeah.
So we're really taking a hard dive look at, you know, what's coming in. You know, a lot of it comes out of our schedule meetings. You know, what jobs are starting, what jobs are finishing, and what jobs are we um
Onboarding.
selling. So
Yeah.
if we sell, we get a 25% deposit. When we start, we get a 25% draw, depending on the size of the job. And then we get paid 100% on completion. So and then we have our monthly maintenance clients. That cash flow comes in. We just budget like 20 to 22% per week out of recurring revenue that should come in. So that gives us a clear picture, you know, because there's, you know, the accrual base, and then there's cash.
Well,
And
cash is what matters, actually.
yeah, cash is king, right? So
Yeah.
how are, you know, when you go broke and you get embezzled and you can't even figure out how to make payroll, you know, you got to like really be watching nickels and dimes.
Well,
And
and it sounds like, the pressure created a diamond, like.
yeah, like, isn't that how that all works? So what could go wrong? Well, I figured it all out, but you know, I'm a recovering addict. I'm 28 years clean, but it went from, you know, drugs to food. So I became 300-pound no neck, from like I had a shoulder and a head. It was intense. I wish I would have saved some of those shirts and pants, because I must have been like a 45 waist, like a like I think I'm a 46 chest now. I think I was 58.
So then
I
what, and then what, so what got you going in the direction? Like, what was it that, shifted your perspective and like,
I just honestly, I couldn't tie my shoes and breathe at the same time. I mean, that was the physical element of it. And then it was like, you know, I got two daughters, and I'm like, what am I doing? And then I went through this. I'm in a like couple peer groups. One is the EO community. and one is also the Leaders Edge peer group through Jeffrey Scott.
Hmm.
And the one through EO I've been in for 20 some years, and we did this retreat and we brought in a facilitator. He's a friend of mine. We call him Coach Bob, and he wrote a book called I Matter. And it was just like the aha moment, just kind of like the same thing as recovery. Like with drug recovery, I was making a choice and I said, oh my God, I'm like doing this shit to myself.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh boy. And then the I Matter is the gist of it is, and boiled down is if you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't take care of those around you. So I started taking care of myself first so that I could be a better father, husband, brother, son, all that.
Leader, entrepreneur.
Leader, entrepreneur. I think that stuff came a little bit later, but I mean, I think because it was like from a health perspective, like literally I was a ticking time bomb. Cholesterol was through the roof. You know, they wanted me to get on blood pressure medicines, cholesterol medicines, and I'm like, forget it. Like, let me just try this. And so I just started with movement and diet and no more McDonald's, no more fast food, no more soda, no more Cokes, no more Tasty Freeze, Dairy Queen, all that stuff. I just cut all that out. And my cousin and I started going to the gym with him. I couldn't do one sit up.
Right.
And then they opened up an LA Fitness and we started doing spinning classes. And I was like, this is awesome. So I kind of found my jam. And then a bunch of guys were talking about triathlons. And I'm like, wow, that sounds cool because I'm a squirrel and then I'm not doing the same thing all the time. I can swim one day and bike one day. I mean, I couldn't swim a lap across a pool.
Right.
And then I did my first triathlon in 2011. I did a sprint, I did two, then I had knee surgery. And then I said, okay, I want to try something bigger. And I did a half Ironman, which is like more long, more endurance.
Yo, yeah, they're insane, man.
And that turned out,
After knee surgery, yeah, let's do an
yeah.
Ironman, half
So,
Ironman. Why
well,
not?
what happened was we're on our ride down, and all of a sudden, social media blowing up feeds about they reduced the race. So I was pissed because I trained so hard to do this half Ironman. By then I was like 190 pounds, so I had lost
So you're
over
just
100 pounds.
flying, yeah.
So, and I was trained up, and they shortened it because of the heat index. The health department made them shorten the race. So, like any normal human being, my friends like, you guys have been training, sign up for the full Ironman with me. You guys can do this. We've been doing it together. And so I got on my iPad and I like clicked on go and I signed up for it. And I called my wife and I'm like, we're going to Wisconsin and we're doing an Ironman. She's like,
What the fuck?
okay. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, what could go wrong? So we I went right from like basically an Olympic distance to a full Ironman. So
Yeah.
Olympic is like a 10, a 1 miles ish swim, a 32-mile bike and a 10K. And then a full Ironman is 2.4 swim, 112 bike and a marathon. So, I mean, people were like, you're what?
So
And I'm like,
you were addicted to drugs, to food, and then fitness.
yeah, that was legitimately when I finished my first triathlon, when I told people what I explained to me, it was that it gave me that fix,
Endorphin kick.
that yeah. Then it became this whole community thing,
Epic.
where, I mean, these people are like, there's a husband and wife that I mean, we travel, our families travel together now, and we became close friends. And, when we go, like we're doing another one in October, and I think there's like 8 of us racing, we'll all go out and together and then we'll carry on and like vacation after. So we're going to hit
Yeah, that's cool.
time.
So then, you mentioned I Matter being like a bit of a kind of catalyst point for you, and then that parlaying into being a better husband, better father, a better son, whatever, and being a big push in the right direction for your life. And then you mentioned EOS earlier. the Entrepreneurial Operating System, Gino Wickman, and running your business this way. And so, you know, what was the leadership style like before this like big change? And then after you started looking inwards and improving yourself, like how did that show up in the company afterwards?
So I think I mean, that's an amazing question, but I think the leadership style was, I mean, I was the dominant one. I was the chief cook and bottle washer, right? I did
More so
everything.
it's like more directorial, like you do that, I'm gonna go do this, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, everything came through me. And then whereas now everything goes through Des, from me to Des. Des is my general manager.
Awesome.
So what EOS did was it brought structure. So in 2015-ish, 16, we had a large revenue jump growth. And I was like, whoa, we have no process. Like, how did I do this? Like,
What could go wrong?
what? Yeah. Wait, but it was like, how did this happen? It was just, so what EOS brought was structure, process, planning. And then fast forward to 2021, where I brought on Jeffrey Scott as a consultant, that brought me to the next level, which was running my business proactively versus reactively. So
Cool.
going back, EOS, we, you know, we developed our mission statement, which is transforming spaces and lives using nature and innovative design. And that was the beginning of, okay, what are we really trying to do here? I know we do landscapes. Really, we sell labor and plants, but what are we really doing? And that's where the real crystallization has been over the last, and the magic, these last 3 seasons, right? Like we're more living our mission and
Yeah,
our,
that's cool. Because you identified what you actually are doing instead of trying to create something that isn't real.
yeah, I mean, I think the
Like you
reason
just
I hired,
articulated it.
correct. And the reason I hired a consultant is I was frustrated because it was inconsistent. And I'm like, this isn't right. It's just not right. Profitability was inconsistent, and I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah,
Like um, like I like to say, people are like, "What happened?" Well, I'm an overnight success in 34 years.
right.
But it's not. It's a lot of learning and you know making mistakes,
Well,
but
and
being
one of the
vulnerable
things,
about it.
being vulnerable about it. See what you said there. So one of the things we see a lot is when we ask people about growth constraints, few people answer my headspace. Few leaders answer the growth constraint is me. A lot of them talk about labor, demand, input costs, inflation, economy, all these things out here. But what I hear about the way you're talking about things is you kind of like looked in a mirror and said, what do I got to do to make it better? And then start working on it for years.
Right. So it's been literally I took on EOS and it's been a 7 year up to where I am today. And it was so because I did this event or a thing I started this year, Coffee with Ivan, where people can ask me any questions. And one of my employees said, "What's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?" And I said, letting go and trusting people. So we become the ultimate bottleneck in the company. And even though we started off EOS, in the beginning, I was the visionary and the integrator and the salesman and the sales manager, and I still wearing too many hats. And then it slowly started to evolve. Um, at one point, we talk about being vulnerable, but I had to open up to my team through an exercise I did in my EO retreat, which was, um, what is one of your limiting beliefs? And in my limiting belief was that they could never produce the work if I sold at the full capacity I could sell at. And I literally went to my leadership team and I told them, and they were all like, bring it,
Bring it on.
bring it. And I'm like, and that was when things started to really epically change in that respect. But, bringing on EOS was great. EOS doesn't really delve into the financial metrics. If I could go back and tell let's see, I was 23 or 24 when I started. If I could go back 34 years and tell myself something, it would be, hire a consultant and get some financial metrics and benchmarking in place, because the power of a peer group is ridiculous.
Okay, cool. So let's touch on that. And to clarify, so Ivan, you're talking about EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which has been designed by Gino Wickman and
Correct.
has a network of coaches that help people implement this management framework. Then there's EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a peer group for entrepreneurs over $1 million in revenue. Then you've got peer group Jeffrey Scott. So can you just touch quickly on the impact of being part of EO had on you, and then what this next level of like industry oriented peers has on you?
Yeah, the EO concept was great because the differentiator is the Jeffrey Scott is industry specific.
Hmm.
EO, you are not in a group where you have a conflict. So there's no other landscape contractors in the group. It's in my group, I have, and several of the guys in my group have sold their businesses. So getting experience that way. So it's personal, professional, family. A lot of what the concept of EO is that if you need a job description, you can get a job description, but what's really holding us back? It's the story in your head. What is the real issue? The real issue isn't that you don't have a salesman. The real issue is that you can't get clear. Like for me, what I realized through the group was I didn't have processes and procedures. So how the hell was I going to ever hire someone?
Right.
Everything was in my head. So I had to get it all out of my head. So EO really revolves around Gestalt, speaking from experience, and every month it's a one the first Thursday of every month, and then we do a retreat every year. This year we're going to Machu Picchu, so that should be epic.
Sounds
Uh,
horrible.
yeah, and then it's just somebody presents, and then we'll do a couple other presentations, and you talk about your top 5%. So in our group, we also talk about what our KPIs are for the year. Are we on track? Are we off track? So we kind of hold each other accountable. And then presentations will range around, hey, I want to start this new division. And everybody's role is to ask clarifying questions to make sure you've considered all the different things. And then everybody gives experience on that particular topic.
Cool. So that's EO. And then, obviously there's more to the organization, but if anyone wants to check it out, just Google Entrepreneurs Organization. You can find some either close to you or just the whole global thing. But then industry specific peer to peer, working with Jeffrey Scott, a lot of folks in the industry speak very highly of their experience working with him and the people that he brings around them in those peer groups. So what has that done for you? And then, what made you decide to get involved?
Right. I think it's, pick your camp, right? There's tons of consultants out in our industry that are available. And I think it's like anything else, in EO, you got to pick the right implementer. If you don't gel with the guy, it's not going to work. And it's the same thing with a consultant. And what do they bring to the table? To me, it's the concept of a coach. And where that's really benefited me is like, I've never had a coach. And I love it because he pushes me, he challenges me. He beats me up when I need to be beat up. He calls me out. I mean, there's no mincing words. And that's what I need. I don't need it sugar coated. I just need people to just tell me.
Well,
Like,
and what's beautiful about this whole thing is that, if you look at becoming a world-class athlete in any discipline, there are two things that athletes do that entrepreneurs are just prone to not doing. The first one, which people usually get over, is what you're talking about, is having a coach. You can't be the best in the world if you don't have a coach, but entrepreneurs think for some reason they can do it without a coach. And then the second thing, and entrepreneurs never do this, but I mean, we talked about it at the very beginning, is rest. World
yeah,
class athletes have rest baked into their routines. But entrepreneurs, for some reason, especially ones between $1 and $2 million in revenue, don't think they need vacations.
yeah. So interestingly enough, up until the last 3 months, because of moving my business and buying a building and all that, I had traveled out of the state, whether it be for personal or professional, once a month for almost 2 years. I
Perfect.
was doing that. And I'm going to get back to that. Um, it's good for me. It's good for the team. I mean, that's what vacations are for, right? You then learn what's going on. Excuse me. Are people performing at their level? Where are your holes?
Yeah. What messes do you have to come back to that shouldn't have been there?
Right. Like, and if a person can go away, debrief properly, um, and using all these tools, but the concept of a coach, is great. The concept of rest, is great. And I had never done it. You're trying to muscle through it on your own when you don't need to. But like, it's funny because my presentation to my EO group was, hey, I'm going to hire this consultant. And someone said, so what are you going to do? Like, what do you mean? He goes, well, he's going to give you all this information. What are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid, you know, but it's like everything else. You read a book, you take what works and you move in that direction. But, that was his answer. Do I do everything he tells me? No. Do I consider it and listen it and use it and make thought out of it 100%? But, if you're not willing to make the changes that are clearly evident, and we had a lot of changes to make, but we came back and we hammered. I mean, I've got these bracelets and it says WGSD on it. See that?
Yeah.
And that's our internal rally for this year, that came out of a conversation with a client who said, yeah, we really like working with you because you get shit done. So WGSD, we get shit done. And now that's like what we're rallying around. I mean, we moved in 30 days.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't happen because of me.
No.
Like, that's because, and if you could come around here and see the pride and ownership of people that I have, like, 3 or 4 years ago, I was getting to a point where I didn't want to come to work. And now it's like, it's my happy place.
I love
And
it.
these guys are like, they're congratulating me. I'm like, don't congratulate, congratulate yourselves. Without you guys, we're not here.
Not even close, right? And okay, so getting to that though, right? Like this wasn't the way it was, right? And this journey of improvement of self over time to then become a better leader and then create an environment like this. There was something that in our last talk you mentioned about the All Blacks
Oh
and
yeah.
legacy.
So that one of their core values is no dickheads.
Hmm.
So we have in my 3-year vision, I have something that's what it says. And so, part of EOS is that you hire and fire on your core values. But it's really hard when the labor markets are tight, even though we've created and we're working towards this really utopic kind of a situation where it's a win-win for everybody, there's still always challenges. And we were able to just say, I finally came in because people were saying to me, well, if you don't like what I'm doing, I'll just go work for somewhere else and I'll make more money. So I came into my leadership team and I said, no more dickheads, and I'm done. If somebody says that to me, I'm going to shake their hand, thank them for everything they've done for me, and ask them to leave.
Yeah.
You should go do that. As I have a friend, that's his favorite thing. You should go do that then. You should go do that. And they're like, but what are we going to do about work? I said, we'll pick and choose and we'll work to the capacity that we have.
Yeah.
So instead of being 8 weeks out, we'll be 12 weeks out. Like,
Fine.
what do you want me to tell you? But let's go out and find the people that we like, because you got to come to work. You're at work with these people.
More than you are with your friends and family.
Right. So why are we working with people that are dicks? Honestly.
I love it.
So we did these reviews. One of the things that we did when we onboarded with Jeffrey Scott was he sent out reviews to all my people, anonymous reviews. And I came back and I was a bit of an asshole. And I had to and I was not, he goes, you're not surprised at all by this. And I'm like, no. and not that I just had some things to work on, but that's part of what I've done to make it so people understood that they could really tell me, hey, you're out of line, or hey, don't do that.
Well, and it's amazing too, because if you don't give somebody or an organization, a group, an opportunity to provide anonymous feedback, it really is difficult for them to get it out. Like, there's no way they're going to come up to you, muster up the courage, whatever they need to do to say, hey, can I sit down with you for 15 minutes? I'm not really happy with what's going on here, and I think you need to improve on this.
Right.
Few people, if any, have the wherewithal or and I think to your point though, it's up to the leader in the organization to create the environment to create the feedback, right? Like, that is epic. And I do my anonymous feedback maybe once a year ish, sometimes a bit more frequent. And it stings a little bit sometimes, but I find that that's where the most growth happens.
100%.
And 80% of the feedback they don't get it, whatever, it's fine. But 20% of it's like pretty consistent. And if they're all saying it, it's probably true. So I probably need to say that this is what I'm working on. And thank you for taking the time to fill it
Right.
out.
And then so that was the first year, but then we put in place an internal recruiter HR person, and she was bilingual, and that was a non-starter for us when we hired her. And it gave the employee, it was more employee facing, meaning she was firm but fair. So if people came and said something, she was like, well, no, that's not going to fly. What about you? Where's your accountability?
Mhm.
And we were able to start getting another feedback loop in there. And then we've been religiously doing now L10 production meetings every other week. 1 week is maintenance, 1 week is production construction. And that's another place for feedback loops. And I'm in those meetings as one of the salespeople. But really giving people the opportunity. And one of the things that came out of it was kind of along the lines of the whole no dickhead thing, which is, you know, you guys, why is Ivan so angry at the end of every year? And I'm like, he's right. She goes, what do you mean? This is the HR person. I said, because I'm so frustrated that I have to treat these people that talk like that and pay them hourly the same. They don't work the same. They don't care like the other guys do. And the other guys bleed for the company and they're getting the same benefits. And to me, why would you want those people around?
Mm.
So when I started framing it back to them that way, and I said to them, does that guy work as hard as you? No. Does it bother you that he doesn't care about where equipment goes and taking care of equipment? Yes. I said, so doesn't it bother you that they're getting paid the same number of hours as you? They're like, they never thought about it that way.
Right.
So the dialogue has worked both ways. And that's the thing. It took 3 years to get it to work both ways. It had to start with me. And then it went down the leadership chain because we started getting feedback on all the leadership and it was real. Like he's a hothead and he's unapproachable. And, sometimes this person is, difficult to have a conversation with. And so that was a lot of what came out of our annual leadership meeting this year, which was personal growth and self-awareness and how are we going to improve. But it was an unusual meeting, and getting people the whole EOS thing. I tell people when they come on, like, it's weird. We say our mission statement before every meeting. I know it's a little weird, but trust me, like,
It's only weird at the beginning.
yes.
Then you get used to it. It's easy.
Right. But we had one guy, we hired him and he wouldn't do it. But he doesn't work here anymore.
I was gonna say that didn't last long.
It doesn't last. It doesn't last. Like he could
No.
not bring himself to do it. I don't feel it. Okay.
Well, that's clear then. But I mean,
So
if anything, now you're creating this culture that's pushing splinters out.
right. I mean, and listen, we're not bashful. We started it, them learning it. It was a bribe. So we had attendance issues 4 years ago.
Oh yeah, this is great. Go.
Right. And so we started it off as just, okay, if you had perfect attendance, we had a point system that we adopted that somebody brought in that their husband's place of business used. And if you're within this time frame, it's fine. If you're late, it's a half a point, and it's a point system. And I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, people started attending more because if you had perfect attendance, you got $100.
Beauty.
So, we still were probably only 50% of the people.
Right.
And then we started making them know something like our core values to get it. So now it's called our VTO bonus. And they have to know something to get it. They have to have perfect attendance. And then, they all know. And then at our team building events monthly, somebody new can get up and say them. And then, like we have vending machines here that we just sell the stuff out as low cost. And so we take all the dollar bills back and then we'll, throw people out like a stack of singles.
Yeah, sweet.
Standing up in front of 60 people and either in English or Spanish reciting them.
Love it.
So, and then if they have a
And
full,
is it volunteer? Like you're like, hey, who new wants to do it? And then someone does
yeah,
it? Or do you like, Dave, go?
no, right now it's volunteer, but now we're like, if we have a production staff of, I think we're up to almost, we'll be up next week to 34 or 36, give or take. And then there's some office people that are eligible, the salaried people, some of them are, some of them aren't. Leadership is not, but I think we're at like 90 some percent, 93% take the bonus.
Epic.
So like I think, yeah, close to somewhere in the 90s, the
So
low
it
90s.
sounds like you're having a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, we like to have fun. It's
But
not
like
just
you personally, though, as a leader, right, with a 60-person company, you're having a lot of fun.
way
What?
more than it's a little weird. It can get a little weird. Like that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like I keep saying to my GM, what's going to happen? Like what's going to go wrong? Like what could go wrong? What's going to, like now I'm trying to anticipate it. And it's like more personalities. We moved. Not everyone's good with change. I thrive on change.
Right.
Like
Well,
I'm
and
almost masochistic, but it's
wartime CEOs, we talk about this a lot,
right,
right? When things are in peace times, wartime CEOs go crazy.
right. That's what I like. I do.
Exactly.
I am. I think if I had to pick a, you
Sounds
know,
like M&A is in your future, Ivan.
yeah, we're talking, like that's one of and that's something that I was talking to Mike Jeffrey about, which is like, here's an idea I've got. And he's like, okay, let's get you to the negotiating table, not necessarily M&A, but my own little style to kind of grow my maintenance. Cause, construction keeps outpacing maintenance and I really want to build my recurring revenue.
Yeah, that's
So like, how do you do that? So I've got a model that I have in mind. We also work with a fractional CFO. So I'm going to have him I'm going to see if I can put together a business model, get to the negotiating table for at least one company this year. Not on like the level of a Frank Mariani where he's,
sure.
gone from 70 or 80 million to 280 million. I'm not looking at something like that, but my own model, where maybe we can grow and, through that as well as organically pick
Yeah.
up companies that don't have our processes, don't have our procedures, um, don't have our culture, but they have the clientele that I can then, because we're good at upselling and we're good at selling enhancements.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that would be like a nice natural thing to do. So
Evolution for Ivan to
yeah,
keep.
evolution for me and working on bigger things and really becoming that visionary, right? Like,
I love it, man. All right,
not selling.
so that while you're selling now, you're selling like a much bigger picture, right? Which is what the visionary is all about.
Right.
So then, okay, to wrap up, and first and foremost, we got to do another one because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I wrote down in our notes from our free call. I didn't even get a chance to get to. But if you were to share with the audience one, author, resource, TED Talk, whatever, some resource that you think is really worth valuable for people to check out, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I've read so when
I'll
COVID
give me a
hit,
couple. You can give me a couple. It doesn't have to just be one, but if there's a couple that just kind of
can I
come to
look at
mind.
my phone to jar?
Yeah,
So
yeah, of course,
how
of
about
course.
this? In general, last year I must have read 10 or 12 military leadership books.
Cool.
Those were amazing for me. I'm gonna pull it up
Yeah,
because
for
I
sure.
I made a list and I keep track. Because when I stopped doing social media through COVID, um, I've probably read 100 books since.
Seems like a better use of
Recently,
time somehow.
recently, yeah. How to Win Friends and Influence People was a good read.
Classic.
Um, Legacy, Trident,
No, just give me. You're going
Fearless.
fearless. Okay, so how to win friends, influence people. Legacy, which is all about the All Blacks, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what was the third one?
Um, Fearless was a good one.
Okay, that's good.
Or It's Your Ship. Like I got a whole list.
Of course you do. But we're going to give these people reading for the next 3 years.
I'll share the list with you. It's
Okay, yeah, share the list and I'll put it in the description of
and then
the interview.
here's a weird one: $1 Billion Whale. It's about one of the greatest scams of our time, and I don't think many people know about it.
Epic. Well, thank you
What
for doing this, Ivan. You're
there
amazing.
was another one.
Oh,
I'll
hit me.
just look it up, and it was, I don't remember. Oh, the infinite game. Like just about how it's business is infinite. So like the year ends and then it starts all over.
Right. But the year is arbitrary.
It is because this is infinite. I'm the only one that can control the end.
That's cool.
Otherwise, it's an infinite. And people keep asking me, well, how long are you going to do this for? And I can't, I don't have an answer.
Well, you know what's interesting with that question too is that like some people will ask us or ask others, and like, you're building your company to keep it or you're building your company to sell it. I was like, well, if you build your company to generate cash, it's worth selling and it's worth keeping. So why don't we just do that
Right.
and have fun?
And then people splash the term retire in place. So right now, that's where I'm at. I'm just going to,
Yeah, imagine you actually retired. What would Ivan look like retired? Divorced?
oh, I
In
can't.
jail? You'd probably be in jail.
I was divorced and remarried, same woman.
Oh, are you serious?
What could go wrong?
Oh,
Right.
buddy. There. See, we got to do another one, man. We got to do
Yeah,
another one. I really appreciate you taking time to do this one. And
no
I
problem.
know that if anybody started listening to this podcast, they have got to the end. So thank you very much for being a part of it, man.
All right. Thanks, Robert.
The I Am Landscape Growth Podcast is brought to you by Intrigue, where passionate marketing meets predictable results for entrepreneurs. Remember to like and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please visit intriguemedia.com and click on podcasts.